On a Tuesday morning in March, Robert Chen signed a document that would haunt him for the rest of his life. It wasn't a business deal. It wasn't a contract. It was the legal removal of his 2 children from his will. He was 52 years old, worth over $300 million, and in that moment he chose a woman he'd known for 3 years over the son and daughter he'd raised for 20. This is the true story of what happened next, and I promise you, the ending will stay with you long after this video ends. Robert Chen wasn't born into money. He grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment in Queens, New York, watching his parents work double shifts just to keep the lights on. His father was a cab driver. His mother cleaned office buildings at night. Robert learned early that poverty wasn't romantic, it was suffocating. So he studied, worked, and clawed his way through business school with scholarships and student loans that took him 15 years to pay off. By the time he turned 35, he'd built a commercial real estate empire that stretched across 5 states. Shopping malls, office complexes, residential towers. His signature was on buildings that touched the sky. But success came with a price. His marriage to Linda, his college sweetheart, had become a routine of polite distance. She raised their children, Emma and Michael, while Robert chased the next deal, the next property, the next zero in his bank account. They weren't unhappy exactly, just disconnected. 2 people living parallel lives under the same roof. And then, at a charity gala in Manhattan, he met Sophia Grant. Sophia was 34, stunning, and sharp as a knife. She worked in luxury brand consulting, the kind of woman who knew which wine to order, and how to make a man feel like the most important person in a crowded room. Robert was mesmerized, not just by her looks, but by the way she listened when he talked about his work, the way she laughed at his jokes, the way she made him feel young again. Within 6 months, the affair was in full swing. Hotel rooms on business trips, late-night phone calls, secret dinners in restaurants where no one they knew would see them. Linda found out the way spouses always do, a text message that popped up on his phone while he was in the shower. She didn't scream. She didn't throw things. She just looked at him with this exhausted sadness and said, "We're done, aren't we?" The divorce took 8 months. Robert moved into a penthouse downtown. Linda kept the family home in Westchester. Emma was 19, finishing her sophomore year at Cornell. Michael was 16, a quiet kid who spent most of his time playing guitar in his bedroom. They were hurt, confused, angry, but they were still his kids. Or so Robert thought. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you, and if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Sophia moved into the penthouse 3 months after the divorce was finalized. She redecorated immediately. New furniture, new art, new everything. She had expensive taste, and Robert didn't mind. He'd spent 30 years working, he told himself. He deserved to enjoy his money. But Sophia didn't just change the apartment, she started changing Robert's perspective. It began with small comments during dinner. "Do you really need to send Emma that much for rent? She's old enough to get a job. Why are you still paying for Michael's private school? Public school didn't hurt you. These kids need to learn independence." At first, Robert brushed it off. But Sophia was persistent, planting seeds of doubt that grew slowly in his mind. Then came the family gatherings. Thanksgiving, Christmas, birthdays. Emma and Michael would visit tense and uncomfortable, while Sophia played hostess in what used to be their mother's role. The kids were polite but cold. Michael barely spoke. Emma would leave early, claiming she had plans. Sophia noticed. She'd tell Robert later, "They don't respect you anymore. They think you owe them something just because they're your children. They're adults now, Robert. When does your responsibility end?" The breaking point came during a fight about Michael's college fund. Robert had set aside $2 million for each child, money that was supposed to be untouchable. But one night, over wine, Sophia asked why he was keeping that much money locked away for kids who barely called him anymore. "You could invest that," she said. "We could buy a house in the Hamptons. We could travel. You've already paid for their entire lives, Robert. Don't you deserve to live yours?" Something in Robert cracked. Maybe it was guilt over the divorce. Maybe it was the loneliness he felt despite being in a new relationship. Maybe it was just ego, the need to feel like he was in control of something after his marriage fell apart. Whatever it was, he started listening. He called his lawyer, changed the beneficiaries on his life insurance, revised his will, and then, in a decision that still doesn't make sense to anyone who knew him, he sent Emma and Michael a formal letter through his attorney. The letter was cold, clinical, legal. It informed them that they were being removed from his will and that their college funds would be redirected into a family trust that they would no longer have access to. It didn't explain why. It didn't apologize. It just stated facts like they were business terms. Emma called him. She was crying, which was rare because Emma never cried. "Dad, what is this? What did we do?" Robert's voice was stiff, defensive. "You're both adults now. It's time you learned to stand on your own. This isn't personal, but it was personal. It was the most personal thing he'd ever done. Emma hung up. Michael didn't even call. He just stopped answering Robert's texts. Linda, when she found out, didn't yell either. She just said, "You're going to regret this, Robert. Not because of the money, because of what you just told your children about their worth to you." Months passed. Then a year. Robert convinced himself he'd made the right choice. Sophia threw dinner parties. They vacationed in Europe. He bought her jewelry that cost more than most people's cars. But something was wrong. He'd wake up at 3 a.m. and check his phone, hoping for a message from Emma or Michael. Nothing. Birthdays came and went. No calls, no cards. He told himself they were being stubborn, that they'd come around eventually. But deep down, in a place he refused to look at, he knew. He'd broken something that couldn't be fixed. 2 years later, Robert was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. The doctors gave him 6 months, maybe 8 if he was lucky. Suddenly, the buildings didn't matter. The money didn't matter. He wanted his children. He called Emma. She answered, which surprised him. Her voice was calm, measured. "Dad, I'm sorry you're sick. I really am. But I can't see you right now. Maybe not ever. You didn't just take away money. You told us we didn't matter. And I've spent 2 years learning to be okay without you. I can't go backwards." He tried Michael next. Michael picked up but didn't say anything, just breathed on the other end of the line. "Son, I made a mistake," Robert said. "A terrible mistake. I want to fix this." Michael's voice was quiet, flat. "You can't fix this, Dad. You taught me something important. You taught me that love has conditions." That. Robert Chen died 4 months later in a hospital room. Sophia was there, but only for an hour before she left to meet with the estate attorney. Emma and Michael didn't come. Not because they were cruel, but because there was nothing left to say. The funeral was small. Business associates, a few distant relatives. Linda came, not for Robert, but to support her children from a distance. The estate was settled quietly. Sophia got the penthouse, the investment accounts, the properties. Emma and Michael got nothing, which was exactly what they expected. But here's what Robert never understood. In trying to secure Sophia's love, he lost the only love that was ever unconditional. And in the end, no amount of money could buy back the sound of his son's laughter, or the way his daughter used to hug him when he came home from work. Some prices are paid in dollars, others are paid in memories you'll never get back. Robert Chen died a rich man. But he died alone, and that's a kind of poverty no will or trust can ever fix. So, let me ask you, if you were Emma or Michael, could you have forgiven him? And if you were Robert, what would you have done differently? Leave your thoughts below, because stories like this remind us that the most valuable things we have can't be deposited in a bank.